From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team. Dominating with Dawson.
Ben Dawson. I'm looking for Ben Dawson. I have not seen Ben Dawson in a little while. I cannot wait to finally see Ben Dawson face to face because I only know him on a computer, screen. But he's my friend.
So crazy,
right? It's like I know you so well, and I haven't even met you yet. So,
hello, online friends. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Ben Dawson is really. Let me think. He's probably like 5 inches tall.
I think he's just a meme, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes too.
He's gonna walk up and he's gonna be like more than 5 inches tall, and I'm not gonna know what to do with him. You know, it's like, oh my God, you're huge.
When we all finally meet each other in person, there's going to be things about each other. We're like, holy crap. Like that. Cause I mean, I've had so many of those moments with the plague where you finally see somebody with their mask off or something like, oh, that's what you look like without your mask off. And you guys are going to be like, oh my God, Ben only eats bananas or whatever it is.
Well, speaking of bananas,
Tom Cruise. Oh, you're so short.
Exactly. It's going to be some kind of Tom Cruise revelation when we all get together.
I have to bend down to shake his hand.
Wow. Okay. Well, speaking of bananas,
I'm a solid 6 feet. I'm a solid 6 feet with scoliosis.
Oh, there you go.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, speaking of bananas, we have a listener. Who knew?
Oh, do we?
We do.
Is this guy bananas? Is this a good guess?
Definitely.
Let me guess. Is it Ron? Because he's been around quite a bit lately.
Yeah. If you hang out on the wrong side of the street, you end up in places that Ron Mexico frequents. So
yeah. This
is the last one of our listener submitted questions that we have at the moment. So the queue is empty. We put them right to the top of the list.
Yeah, you totally ask your questions and we'll bring them right up to the top and talk about them. We'd love to.
Absolutely.
Because quite honestly, your questions are probably better than our questions, but that's a different story. We'll talk about that off air.
I think our questions are excellent.
That's right. And you would. Anyway.
Wow.
Our listener, Ron Mexico, writes in saying, hey, I'm driving on the track. My car's got these things called nannies. Well, not all the cars do. We'll talk about what nannies are. Nannies controls. Turn them on, turn them off. Well, we might as well talk about what they are first, because I'm pretty sure Jen's got a puzzled look on her face. Jen, do you have a puzzled look?
I think of nannies, and I'm like, is that a TV show or I don't know?
Yep. Yep. It's from the 70s. It came on right after the Partridge Family.
Oh, the Fran Drescher show too.
Oh, that too. That wasn't 70s though. But anyway,
I had a nanny.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that was your
not
grandmother.
a nanny in the sense that you were.
That was your grandmother.
A white privileged child that had somebody look after her. Our grandmother's name was Nanny. We called her Nanny.
Yes, we called her Nanny.
And that's not even the good thing. We called our grandfather Bumby.
Indeed. We called one of my granddad's Boom.
Boom.
Like boom. Like boom.
I like that.
I do like that one.
Yeah. He was cool. I named our Mike.
This went right off the rails.
It really did.
I know.
If we want to go fully off the rails, your grandfather was Bumby and your uncle was Bippy.
Bippy. We had Uncle Bippy.
That's awesome. How do I get somebody to start calling me that?
All right, Bumbles. Let's go. Nannies. Jen's confused. What's a nanny?
You're talking about like a car that might have traction or stability control that you could have on.
Yep.
What are other ones? I mean, you don't want to turn your anti-lock brakes off. Probably still can't, but that is some kind of more modern nanny. But what else are we talking about, Bill?
Well, one I would definitely say you want to turn off when you're on track is either the lane keeping assist.
Self-driving if it's a Tesla.
Yeah. Lane keeping assist, bad on track. And the other one that the Volvo is going to go away because it drives me batty is when it's got this accident warning thing, like there's a car really close to you. And I'm like, dude, I am passing that car. Don't worry. We are good. Stop telling me, and do not touch those brakes again ever. But yeah, those would be the nannies. The things that assist you in doing what you should be doing and are totally
and those
lost
things are
when we're on
great,
track.
and they're generally great and safe on the street. Just for an example, my wife just bought like a 2021 Highlander, and I was driving up to a roundabout in town, and I had my cruise control set to whatever, and like it'll decrease how much torque you get with the steering angle. I left the car. I didn't touch the brakes. I could touch the gas like a half mile before this roundabout, and got off the gas. And I was like, I wonder if the car will just do the brakes. You know, I had to do the steering, but the car did all the braking for the roundabout. I never touched another pedal until we got out of the roundabout and I got out of the gas. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Sounds like normal Jersey driving.
But yeah, the car did all the braking for the roundabout. All I did was steer around. I was really impressed, but not that fun on track.
No, not that fun on track. So nannies are the driver assistance aids that are popular in newer and newer cars more and more.
Yeah, like probably 2010 on, really prevalent, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, you got to do something when people are always driving with their phone in their face. But
right.
So, are we comfortable with what nannies are now, Miss Jen?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. If you notice, none of our race cars have them.
No.
We don't even have any.
And it's funny that Ron asked this because I just raced Ron Mexico's 1969 BMW Bavaria that had not just no nannies, it had a couple of tendencies to actively try to kill you. So interesting question from Ron. I wonder where this is coming from. I think he had a student that had some nannies that were not that fun pretty recently in his instructing days.
Yeah.
So is the question turn them off or don't?
Well, I mean, driving with them on and driving with them off, when would you want to do and when wouldn't you, I guess, is kind of how I'm interpreting it.
I would say probably like the purist in me, the person who's like, you know, the most, who's always striving for the most pure driving experience would say turn them off immediately and learn to drive the car that way. Like don't learn to drive the car with the nannies on and then readjust as you get faster. Like
And
I would say turn them on and
we're not talking about anti-lock brakes. We're talking about all the rest of them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't even turn ABS off. If you have, it's built into your braking system probably. But yeah, I'm talking about turning off the stability control and those sort of things. They keep trying to correct you if the car thinks you're out of shape or you're out of your depth as far as grip or there's an upset condition. They'll try to correct for you. I would say I may be wrong, but at least my instinct is to say that you should turn them off as soon as you start learning on your arc for learning high performance driving. I would say turn that stuff off as much as you can. And in some cases, you might have pressed all the buttons and made all the lights go off, but there's still some level of stability control or traction control that's going to kick in if the car thinks you're really upset. So you can turn it off to a certain degree. You might have to go deeper into the buttons and the menus to turn them off even more, or you might not be able to completely disable it. But I would say disable those things as much as you can. That's just in my own opinion. I'm sure there are plenty of counterpoints and smarter people who say otherwise, but I think you should practice like you're going to play and start practicing that way right away. That's my opinion.
Ladies, what are your thoughts?
I think that the less you have guiding your car, the better, because that way you actually get to feel the car. Well, except for power steering. I mean, that's
different.
Kind of do power steering, whatever. But yeah, the less you have to control your car, the more you're going to feel your car and its own limits. So that's what I would recommend.
Miss Jen?
I agree with Vicky. It's kind of like, you know, all the data that you get, you know, you start to drive to the data, then, you know, you just kind of forget. So, you know, the more you can feel, the more you can do, the better.
What about when you drive the ND Miata, Jen, at the track? What do you guys do about that as far as those things go? Does it have nannies?
I don't think it has a lot of nannies on it, does it?
Mm-mm.
Why,
Bill
yes.
says yes.
Why, yes, it does.
Yes, it does. It has all of
Does
them.
it?
It
Do we
does.
turn them off though, right?
Well, if you turn the button off, I would assume you turn them off. It's that lower left button underneath the steering wheel on the left-hand side.
Jennifer's never probably touched it, but have you touched
She
it
has.
before?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, she has when I start the car for her.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I need to go to track days where somebody starts my car and stuff like that. Like, hey Ben,
Me too. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Well, it is Bill's car. So
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I don't ever get to drive it.
Have
Yeah.
anybody ever experienced having the nanny controls on and having them intervene when
Well,
you didn't
yes.
expect it or had them on the track?
I think that it happened the most to me when
Forgot
you
to turn them off.
well, no, I always remember to turn them on or off. But
Mhm.
like if you stall the car, if you park it for a red flag and then you restart the car, I forgot to turn it back off.
Right.
And it doesn't stay on long. Once you know it, I think maybe we should probably go into how they work typically and why they're a problem. Maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You got some science on that, Bill?
Maybe. I don't know. So a lot of them will work with applying brakes to prevent you from getting into what it views a troubling situation. So
Right.
instead of the car behaving what I would call more normally or more naturally, perhaps is a better word, the car will try to intervene by either adjusting the brakes or adjusting the throttle position.
Yeah.
Mostly. I think those are the two that are most common. And sometimes that'll actually upset the car because now you've got a second source of braking. Let's stick with the braking as the fundamental way it's working. And you've got a second source of braking, which you don't realize is not connected to your foot and not connected to that pedal. And it's going to make the car do something that you're not anticipating or perhaps aren't ready to anticipate. And you're going to have to react to it in what I view as an unknown behavior. And I'd rather know that when I touch the brakes, that's when the brakes are on. And when I'm not on the brakes, that's not on. Does that sound right, Ben?
Yeah. I agree. I don't have a ton of experience driving cars with these sorts of interventions because I'm typically driving beaters. I don't have this sort of stuff involved. But like even my 2004 X5 that I drive around, it's got some sort of little light that flashes when I start getting the tail out or getting weird in the gravel parking lot across the street from my work. So there's something even happening. Then I've only driven a car on track that had the nannies on one time. Can I talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I rarely ever drive somebody else's car at a track, especially like a student. If a student be like, hey, can you drive my car? Usually I'm like, unless it's a 700 horsepower 80s Buick Grand National with a huge ass turbo, then I did drive that thing. I drove it like crazy. I made all the bells and warnings go off. We had to come in after like 2 laps because nobody had ever driven it that hard. He was like, the engine's doing bad stuff. Come in. Anyway, I drove that guy's car, but also my teammate Danielle has a 2014 Mustang GT that she and her husband have been tracking for a long time. The car's name is Jessie. It's pretty cool. They've done some modifications to it, but at least in the configuration I drove it, it was a couple of years old when I drove it. So we're talking several years ago, and we were driving at this place called NC Car, and I knew Danielle pretty well, and I knew there was something bad happened with the car, like they were going to come after me with a hammer. So I was like, okay, I'll drive it. She'd asked me if I wanted to drive it, and she wanted to kind of see the car get driven at a different level. So I went out and started driving it, and I didn't realize I think we had turned off at least one level of the nannies, but like. Yeah. I'm out there driving and coming up out of a corner. I feel the car like getting yanked off the line. Like it was doing the thing where it adds braking to whatever you're doing. So it was like braking and pulling me off the line. It was disruptive enough to where it was unsafe to me because I was trying to do normal track driving, and this thing's literally like pulling me off of what I'm trying to do. So I know that I think we came back in and tried to turn more of it off and then went back out. But my experience with driving with the nannies on was a little scary not from the it saved me kind of perspective. It was just like jerking me around the track. It wasn't ever like unsafe, but it sure wasn't any fun. You know, that's kind of what I went through with it. We're just like, ooh, this sucks. We came in and turned them off and went back out.
Torque vectoring is the fancy word they call that, and it drives me
Yeah.
batty.
Well, and that we talked about my wife's new car. It does that too. Like if you're driving down a country road that's 55 miles an hour, and like a curve comes up, one where you, a race car driver, know, oh, all right, I'm just going to keep it flat. I'm just going to keep the same amount of speed going through this because it's a little bit of a turn, but it's not such a big deal that I think I need to slow down. The car will slow down for you. If you're on cruise control, it'll slow down just based on how much throttle, how much throttle angle steering angle. I'm doing the motion with my hand and saying throttle, but how much
The
steering
Ackerman
angle
steering angle.
Exactly. So if I'm putting some Ackerman in there, it starts to it'll lets off the throttle for you if you're on cruise control, which I'm not a big fan of.
No.
Even on the street.
And adaptive cruise control is just going to start me ranting. So,
my gosh.
Yeah, Vicky, I don't think you've driven a car on track with stability control or in any kind of dynamic stability control, except for the two BMWs. Did you drive them with or without, or both?
I don't know if they had the stability controls on, whether you left them on or you were driving with them, because I've always driven after you with the car.
They're off then.
Okay. But I don't think that I've driven a car with them on yet.
Okay, good. That's good. Miss Jen, I know you've driven with the red 2019 Honda. Sorry, thinking about what we need to work on and not what we drive. The Miata. It's an ND, and you've driven it with and without the stability control, because the first few times you went out there, you didn't know that it had one. So I remember that. What did you think about the difference? Did you notice a difference?
I didn't initially know, but I do now.
Yeah. And what would you kind of, for those who have not driven, as everybody says, in anger with the nannies on, could you describe what it was doing that you could feel?
I mean, it's hard. I guess it's hard for me to describe. I guess when
we
they
could
were,
go with good or bad.
Well, I felt like almost like when they were off that I had more control. Like I was more in control. So, when they were on I didn't feel that way. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words what it was feeling.
I mean, to me, it feels unnatural.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, who's doing that? Because I'm not doing whatever it's
right.
doing. And the other weird thing to me is that sometimes depending on the system, sometimes they can actually apply brakes to one wheel. And the last thing I want on track is to have one wheel doing something that I'm not expecting it, because I don't know what it's doing. And I have no way. There's no like gauge on the cluster that says right rear brake is on at 15%. I mean, you just have no idea. And it doesn't feel right. And,
right.
I know Ben's not a proponent of the smooth is fast thing, but it feels so far unsmooth. It's
right.
not good in my opinion.
It can't be unpredictably jerky either.
Right.
Yeah,
it can be, and that doesn't help. The only time
that's me. I mean, it can't be and be safe. So.
Right. Yeah, the only time that I have said to Jennifer recently, and I would have said it to Vicky, but her car doesn't have stability control. I did say when you were going out to Mid-Ohio for the first time and it was wet, I said, leave it on until you're comfortable, because it's that second layer, and you weren't going to be going terribly fast in Mid-Ohio in the rain. And it just gave you that little bit of extra comfort in case you got into something that you weren't quite comfortable with, because Mid-Ohio in the rain it's a special beast.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it sure is, Mr. Bill.
It sure is.
Yeah, Mr. Bill.
Right.
I know. You're like,
Mr. Bill.
That's right.
When we went, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We get there and it rains.
But you know what? That's really not a bad idea to have. If you have nanny controls on it and you're in a complicated track in the rain, that might not be a bad thing to have if you're out for your first time. Just
absolutely not.
Get a feel for the track. I would recommend them on that
Especially
like your
on
first
that
stint,
track
to learn the track. Yeah.
But as soon as you can get away from it, it's a lot more fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Speaking
I
of a lot
agree.
more fun, Ben Dawson. That was
And
another
Dawson
episode.
is fun. He's fun.
He is.
Take those nannies, leave them at the house, take your car to the track.
That's right.
Yep.
Leave the nanny home.
Leave the nanny
Yeah.
home. That's right. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.